Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning and hello everyone. Today is a very imperative day in our dispensation, the Navan full moon day, or the full moon day of the month February. Today was the day in which Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana were appointed as the chief disciples of our Buddha. So on this auspicious day, I think you already listened to a wonderful sermon about a certain sutta. And now we are getting ready to do some meditation to calm down our minds. I think most of you have done this technique or meditation in your life. The thing is that we have to bring it into a habit so that we'll be able to experience the spiritual bliss in our day-to-day lives. The technique that I'm going to explain today is the mindfulness in breathing. We call it āNΑPΑNASATI in Pali. It's a simple technique. We don't need much knowledge on that. But still, it's a quite subtle object. The technique has a subtle object which we call the breath. Some are not able to focus on it very delicately. But if we are able to gain concentration on this object, which we call the breath, the effects would be significant. So it's always recommended that we would keep it as a habit in our day-to-day lives. The nature of our mind is to wander in various objects, and it is our duty as Buddhists or as seekers of spirituality to calm down this. There's a very nice example given by Most Venerable Lady Sayadaw. Think about a madman or a person who is insane. His insaneness is mostly seen in the inconsistency of his activities. A person who is out of his mind or insane would suddenly change his topics in discussion or his activities in a dramatic scale which does not suit, or a person who is observing him would find it that it's quite abnormal about his behavior. An insane person would be talking with us about a certain topic and suddenly jump into now think about he's talking about politics with us, and suddenly he jumps into a religious discussion. And then while the conversation was about the religion, he suddenly may move into talk about science, or then he suddenly talk about what is going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday. So then we find that he is unable to sustain a certain conversation in a single topic. And also, an insane person in his activities would have random changes, random dramatic changes. He may be eating while ago, and suddenly, without finishing his meal, he may go into the bathroom and take a bath. And while he has applied his soap, he may go into his garden and doing gardening. So, if such an abnormal behavior is seen, we know that person is not in good conditions. His mind is not normal. It's considered abnormal. So we call him an insane person. So same attributes can be seen in our minds. We are capable in restraining ourselves and capable of maintaining and focusing on certain activities that we have already initiated. For instance, I'll be able to do this discussion continuously for about an hour on this very, very topic that I have chosen, and you will be also be you will also be able to focus on my topic. So in terms of bodily and verbal activities, we are able to restrain our minds. Even though they wander into various objects, we are able to restrain our minds and not to act upon our mind, act according to our mind, not to act according to our mind. So we'll be able to sustain the activities that we have already initiated. But if you think about our mind only, what is the nature of this mind? If we start to keep on focusing on our breaths, while focusing, it may go into an object about something which happened yesterday, or something which happened 1 hour ago, and about something that we are going to do today or tomorrow, and suddenly it goes into politics, suddenly it goes into have something happen in wildlife, something we saw in the television, or about a certain incident in the country. We see a random change, a dramatic change in our thought patterns. As we see this change in an insane person, in his physical and verbal behaviors, our mind is also of the same nature with regard to various objects. Now, sometimes we may focus on reading, we may start to read a book, but suddenly our mind starts to wander here and there, and we'll get distracted. Very often it happens to us. But still, it's a sort of physical involvement is there, because we are looking at it, and so we will be able to maintain our concentration most of the times, and be able to finish what we have started reading, though our minds were struggling to go into various objects. But if the story or the topic is quite interesting, we may get absorbed into it. But when we are supposed to do pure mental activities such as meditation, it's quite difficult for us to maintain our focus on one particular object. Though we have made the initiation to focus on a particular object, maybe it's the breath or the attributes of the Buddha, or to spread loving kindness to all the living beings, it tends to move into various objects randomly and dramatically. So we'll not be able to keep our focus or keep our attention in that particular object. So Lady Sayadaw suggests that the mind of most of the Putujanas, the worldlings, is insane. In which regard? That is, we are unable to focus on a particular object similarly to an insane person who is not capable in focusing, in giving his attention or completing a physical or verbal task that he has already started. We are unable to accomplish our mental tasks. So there is a similarity here. The noble beings, or the ones who have developed in spirituality, get rid of this insaneness. So it is vital that as human beings that we will be able to get rid of this madness in our minds of searching into various objects, and try to train our minds to a level that it is capable to develop a capacity that is capable of focusing on a singular or specific objects according to our will. āNΑPΑNASATI meditation, or the mindfulness of breathing, is a very good technique to enhance this quality, enhance this capacity or the ability. So now I'll move into the subject directly. Mindfulness of breathing, on breathing, mindfulness on breathing is quite easy to understand. So what we are supposed to do is we have to focus on our breathing, because breathing happens naturally. It is an act that happens naturally. At the same time, it is an act that we can do deliberately. But for instance, think about the blood circulation. It is out of our control. It happens according to the conditions, our body is in. Think about the movements of our bodies. Most of the cases, activities such as walking, talking are deliberate acts. It doesn't happen like things don't happen, normally doesn't happen out of our control. We normally doesn't get into walk without our intentions. But breathing is normally a natural process that we keep on breathing without our awareness. But at the same time, we can do it purposefully if we want. So breathing is an act in between the spontaneous or natural activities that occurs in our body and also the deliberate acts. So what we are supposed to do is either deliberately or naturally. Whenever breathing is happening, we got to focus on this. So when we keep on focusing on this breathing, act of breathing, and sometimes we may call the focus on the breath, whatever it is, our mind starts to develop the concentration, and we develop a certain habit, the habit of being able to focus on a particular object for longer periods. So therefore it is always recommended that in our day-to-day life or daily activities, we should spend some time, at least some time, to focus on breathing. Think about loving kindness, another meditation technique that we may discuss in future, or contemplating on the attributes of the Buddha. There is certain kind of a deliberate effort is going on. We have to contemplate something. May he be well, may he be fine, may he be freed from suffering. Or these are the attributes of the Buddha, he was so and so. For some meditation techniques, we need the knowledge about the object. But meditation on breathing is just merely focusing on a phenomenon or a process that is naturally happening already in our body. So that's why it's an easier technique than other meditation subjects. But the thing is, the breath or the breathing is quite subtle, and the more we focus on breathing, more concentration develops. It gets subtler and subtler. Therefore, some yogis have the difficulty in finding the breath or focusing on this breath. It means catching this breath. Therefore, in the beginning, we introduce certain techniques that enables the yogis to catch the breath easily, so they'll be able to have a smooth development in their technique. So focusing on breathing, now think about the changes which occurs in our breath, while we're breathing in our body. Sometimes now breathing is a process that air goes into our nice nostrils and it moves into the lungs, and lungs get expanded. Then lungs expands, and then when they get shrunk or they come to the normal position, they fall back. The air goes back out of the nostrils. So a body of air, I would call a breath body, a body of air, a certain quantity of air, certain portion of air moves into our nostrils, and it moves through the pipe and goes into the lungs, and it comes out. During this process, we may feel a certain kind of heat or coldness around our nostrils, or sometimes around our lips. And also, we may feel air is striking against our nose and throat sometimes. And also our chest expands during the process. And even the belly expands, because when the lungs are for the lungs to expand, naturally the stomach or the belly also expands, the skin and the flesh around there. In some occasions, if your concentration is subtle or sharper, you may also see that there is an expansion happening in the entire body while we are breathing. So in the beginning stage, what we are supposed to do is, we should note this change. Either the sensations that we get around our nose or mouth, or the sensations we get around our throats, or the expansion of our chest or the belly, or even the entire body. Sometimes, even without noticing any of these changes, we know that we are breathing. We know that the process of breathing is happening. So any of these can be your object. Either the sensations around your nose or the lips, or the striking of air into our throats, or expansion of our chest, expansion of our belly, or the changes that occurs in our body, or the idea of breathing, that idea that I am breathing. So what you're supposed to do is, we have to focus on this. And then we introduce a technique called counting the breaths. In the end, when we grow in our technique, we are supposed to focus only at the nostrils. Some teachers suggest that we can also focus on the entire process of the breath, but some teachers say just focus on the nostril. So later on we can come into that stage. Before, just to get a certain attention to the breath, to calm down our minds, we are supposed to focus at any of the changes which is obvious to us. Right? So I'll repeat again, for some sensations, some striking of the breath into our throat, so in this area, expansion of the chest, expansion of the belly, or the changes which occurs in the entire body, or the idea of breathing while we are taking breath inside and in and out. So whenever a change is felt in breathing, we have to note it as one. We don't need to note it as breathing or in breath or out breath. We just focus it as one. We just count it as one. And while you're breathing out, we count it as two. And again, when the breath comes in, we count it as three. So when the breath comes in, sometimes you may feel the expansion of the chest, so we count it as three. Then it goes back, it gets down, so we count it 4. Sometimes you may feel the expansion of the belly, 5. When it goes back, 6. Sometimes the sensation, 7. When it comes out, another sensation, 8. Or maybe different locations of the changes. Now, 9th, you feel that it's going in, and you can count number 10 while the chest is coming back down. So each and every in breath and out breath we have to count based on any change that we experience. It doesn't matter that you doesn't need to only focus on the nostril in the beginning. In some cases, while we are counting the breath, we may miss certain breaths. For instance, we were able to count 1 in breath, first in breath, second out breath, third in breath, but we forgot to count the 4th in out breath. Our mind starts to wander, but suddenly we get the attention while we are breathing again. So it should have been the 5th in breath, but still, as we couldn't count the 4th out breath, so we have to label it as 4, number 4. In breath has to be number 4. So there should not be any pattern, or odd numbers or even numbers. There's no such a thing that all the in breath should be odd and all the out breath should be even, or vice versa. Whatever the change, whatever the breath we catch, we just need to label it as, we have to number it. That's all. And in numbering even, we should not exceed 10, and we should not count lesser than 5, because it has effects. Now if you count lesser than 5, it's too short, the process is too short, counting process. It distracts, our minds feel like it's confined. And if we start to count above 10, instead of focusing on the breaths, our attention goes more into the numbers. So it's recommended that we count between 5 and 10. So I would introduce counting till 10. Then we also count the groups of 10s. For instance, after you have counted now 1 in breath, first in breath, second out breath, so likewise we have gone 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we are supposed to fold one of our fingers, because it's one set of 10 breaths. It's a one set of 10 breaths. Then we start again from number 1. Then after you have finished the second set of number 2, second set of 10 breaths, we fold the other finger. So likewise, we keep on counting breaths of 10 sets. So when each set is completed, we unfold a certain finger. In the end, we abandon the breathing when we develop in our concentration. That's a different case. But at the beginning, we can use our fingers. So sometimes the beetle necklace, some may use. But here we have our finger. Everyone has fingers. So I'm sorry if someone is missing fingers. So most people are having fingers. So otherwise you can use some other technique to count. So what we are supposed to do is we have to count the sets that we do. So in the initial stage we are supposed to do 10 tens. It means 10 times 10 sets. So while we are breathing one set, when we have concluded one set, we fold one finger. The second set, we fold the second finger. Likewise, we fold the first 5 fingers when we have finished first 5 sets of 10 breaths, and then we unfold the fingers again, and then we reach 10 tens. So that would be a one meditation session for you. So then we normally increase this till 50s of 10 sets. 10 sets, but in the end we come into level of 50 10 sets. So it's better, it's always recommended that you do this gradually, you increase this gradually. For example, you may count 10 tens for 2 weeks or 1 week, depending on your schedule. If you are able to meditate twice a day, it's 1 week is quite enough. Then we move on to counting 15 tens for another week. If you are counting just once a day, you can just do it for 2 weeks, and then move on to 15 tens, another 2 weeks. Then move on to count 20 tens. So if we feel that we are able to count more than 10 tens, we may continue, but always keep the minimum amount. Never reduce it below 10 tens. So if you have started to count 15 tens, never reduce it below 15. You can increase it above 15. You can increase above 15, but your target would be 15. Then you can further increase into 20s, 25s, then 30, 35, 40, 45, in the end 50s. So after we have done for a few weeks 50 10 sets, we can give up the counting, and we can keep on focusing only at our breaths. So while we have done this for many weeks, maybe 10, 12, 15 weeks, we have done the mindfulness of breathing, automatically our concentration will be developed into a higher stage. So we'll be able to focus on breath without the help of counting. Counting gives you an assistance to focus on the breath, because while you are focusing on breath, while you are counting the breath, the attention goes both to numbers and the breath. So it's quite easy for us to continue. In the end, we abandon the counting, we just focus on the breath. So for that, to come into that level, we have to have a gradual training. So what we are doing is we are giving ourselves a certain task every day. Count 10 sets of 10 breaths, count 15 sets of 10 breaths, count 20 sets of 10 breaths. I think anyone can find this time. It's not true that we are unable to, even in such a busy schedules, we'll still be able to find some time for ourselves to focus on 10 breaths. So it means 100 breaths. So if you are able to count 50 sets of 10 breaths, 50 sets of 10 breaths, then we are counting, theoretically we are counting 500 breaths. We are focusing on 500 breaths. So if you are able to focus on 500 breaths, that's a huge achievement according to the samsara. So therefore, it's always recommended that we do this technique daily, so we'll be able to reap the fruit of our practice. So we shall do some meditation now. So I welcome you all to get into a good posture. Maybe you are sitting on a chair, or maybe If you're sitting cross-legged, doesn't matter. Even you're standing is still okay. Lying down is still okay if you are not well, but it's not very highly recommended because you can easily fall into sleep. But it is also one sort of a posture, sleeping and lying down. Anyway, if you're sitting or standing, just try to keep your back straight. It's not compulsory. It is good for your health, and you will be able to do your meditation for a longer period. So try to keep yourselves erect or straight, up straight, and then take 3 deep breaths. And now try to focus on the changes that happens in our body while we are breathing. Count them, 1, 2, 3, likewise. I hope most of you were able to do the counting. Some may be able to count all the breaths without getting distracted, but for some the mind would have wandered here and there. Don't worry about that, that's the nature. But still, even while your mind was wandering, you were still able to count the breaths. Even though some countings were not, our mind was not that much aware, maybe as a habit that you have counted, but still please keep in mind, if you were able to count the breaths, there was some attention given to the breath. So that's a huge achievement that we make. Even while the mind was having different stories about the future or the past, still we were able to focus on some sort of a focus at our breath. Some of you may got lost during the counting. For example, you may felt that what was the number that I was counting, or was I folding or unfolding the fingers? In such case, don't take them very seriously. Just go to your intuition. If you think, okay, I was unfolding, just follow the unfolding path. Or if you feel like I was counting, if you felt within one set, if you felt completely lost, you can start from that particular set. You don't need to start from the very beginning. So likewise, take it easy. It's not a strict thing that you have to count each and every breath, or you cannot make any mistakes in counting. It doesn't matter. Those things are not very trifle. So what we are supposed to do is we have to complete our task. So keep this as a task in your life, that I will count 10 breaths, whatever happens in my day-to-day life. On whatever busy schedule, I will focus, I will do this counting. So your mind feel accomplished when you have done that. You don't want to worry about whether my mind was wandering or how much my concentration has developed, because if you are doing it daily basis, and if you are and you will increase the number of counting every 2 weeks, automatically when you reach the level of 50 tens, the concentration has to grow to a certain level. It's a must if you are able to do it on daily basis. We can guarantee that. So we shall do again another set. And next thing is that we should develop the habit of enjoying this breath. As Ajahn Brahm says oftenly, that is the beautiful breath. Yes, we should be able to enjoy it. One thing is why our minds are wandering here and there, because our mind is not satisfied with what we have. So it wants more and more. So that's why it's wandering into various objects. So we should develop the habit to enjoy this breathing, the object of breath. But it's not a fancy object like a music or a beautiful color or a film. The beauty of this breath is basically because of the bliss it brings to you. When you are able to focus on one particular object for some time, you may feel that all the stress that we have in our lives, unconsciously we are having a lot of stress. We are under stress actually. We are very busy with our schedules. There is a certain stress. Even for monks, this is normal. So when we keep on focusing on one particular object, naturally that stress would reduce. It's a natural process. Then you will find the best time that I have in my life, or my day, is the time that I am focusing on my breath. Then you start to enjoy this. So it may take time. So what you have to do is believe that this would work, because it has worked to many people. So just keep on doing it. You should have a lot of effort to that. You should have a lot of courage to that. Continue with this. You'll one day, surely, you'll get into a good level of concentration. So that's the nature of the mind to wander. So don't worry about that. Just keep on. make a commitment that you count these breaths each and every day. So again we'll move on to do another 10 sets and enjoy your breathing. So keep yourself straight and take 3 deep breaths. Close your eyes and start counting. I hope you were able to complete the sets. During this second session, some may have felt that sometimes the mind may be wanted, mind would have wanted to finish the counting earlier. Like we may have felt that it's a long journey, like when we want to reach a certain destination, there's a certain age, that urge in our mind that we want to finish it. Sometimes the mind would have had such an urge. The thing is, we don't have such an urge when we are awake or listening to this talk, or when we are doing some activity, when we are in our day-to-day life. If you want to specifically finish a certain task that we don't like much, we may have such an urge. But if we are enjoying a movie that we are really liking, we wish that it may not end. So what this urge suggests, that we are not enjoying our breath. Our minds are not ready to be with this object for a longer period. We just want to finish it. Now imagine some yogis are able to keep their concentration for hours, for days in one singular object. So it means their minds had gone a huge transformation to come to that level. Developing a concentration is not just focusing at an object. There had to be a difference even in our attitude, the way of our thinking, the way of our understanding. Concentration is a result of all these changes. To gain these changes, but we do need to practice concentration. At the same time, we have to change our mindsets even. Always we try to think the positiveness of this meditation. What are the benefits that we can gain? What are the disadvantages of indulging in sensual pleasures too much? So when we keep on changing while we are doing the meditation, means not while we are meditating, in our day-to-day activities, we always try to think, to bring our mindset to a spiritual aspect. We have to arouse or bring up a spiritual aspect of our mind. This is very vital. If someone wants to train swimming, he has to always look into the water. He has to be underwater. He has to train to hold his breath underwater. He should get rid of the fear to the water. So he has to always watch how others swim. So then, with this familiarity, he'll be able to master his skill of swimming. The same way, when we are meditating, to always think about it. We should know its benefits, disadvantages of missing a meditation, the benefits that we can gain through a good concentration. And also think about the beings who attain that highest bliss by developing the concentration, like Buddhas and Sravakas, Pacceka Buddhas. So there should be a change in the attitude in order to gain a concentration, develop the concentration quickly. So if you felt the urge to finish, it means our mind is not ready to be with the object. So what we are supposed to do is, don't take it as a failure. By doing this in daily basis, regularly, again and again, 10 tenths, once or twice a day, without breaking, you'll be able to gain this habit of enjoying the breath, and your mind would naturally starts to enjoy it and gets the capacity to be with such an object. So to clarify that, to bring it into more clarity, we would do another meditation session again, focus on our breath. This time we may focus 15 tenths. This is an example that I am giving. For some it would be very simple if they have trained for long periods. But if you are new to meditation, counting 15 tenths would be a daunting task. We'll try it. If you are new to meditation, so you just start with 10 tenths, once a day or twice a day, based on your schedule. If you do once a day, continue that for 2 weeks. If you are doing twice a day, just do for 1 week and then move on to 15 tens, then to 20 tens. So you can change every fortnight or twice, 2 weeks. If you are doing once a day, if you are doing twice a day, you can change every week. Just to show that whether our minds are ready to go into longer lengths, we'll do a 15 tens. So it shows that sometimes now when we are doing 50 tens, for example, you may be able to, some may be able to do it till 20s, 30s, but at a certain stage the energy goes down. It shows that our capacity is just for 20 sets. So what you do is we have to keep on increasing it. There's no other way other than practicing. So if you want to swim, you have to keep on swimming to develop the skill. If you're running, cycling, same thing. So it's same in meditation. You have to keep on meditating in order to develop the skill. So we'll do 15 tens, and then with another short instruction we can conclude our session. So take 3 deep breaths, keep yourself straight. Start counting. I hope you had a good session. If you felt tired doing meditation, please keep in mind that we have to develop this stamina in our mind. It has to be attained only by keep on meditating. When the concentration grows up, the stamina will be developed. So that stamina is the virya that we want, the effort that we want to keep on focusing, doing the task that we have already started. So now I would like to conclude this session, but before that I would like to give a brief, another short technique. I call that 7 sevens. 7 sevens refresh our mind. So sometimes our computers, we do refresh it, so it get energized, and if there is any problems in the functioning, it gets solved when we do the refreshing. So likewise, while you dedicate yourself to do 10 tens every day, once or twice a day, at any given time, whenever you feel that your mind is stressed, or you are not you're not in a happy mood, or the mood has gone down, if you feel that you need some break from whatever you are doing, we can count 7 sevens. 7 7 is considered as one meditation session. Means we count 7 breaths instead of 10 tens. We count 7 sevens. So we may count 7 breaths and fold our finger, one of our fingers, and then go to another 7, fold another finger. So likewise, we do it for 7 sets. So even you can do it while walking, while you have opened your eyes. Even someone is talking, you can still keep on focusing on your breath. But keep in mind, if you have started 7 sevens, keep it a habit, a discipline, that you surely finish it, that you don't stop it in between. Even some necessary thing happens that you have to talk, or you have to focus on something, and just keep your attention where you stopped, and the set you stopped, and you can start again and to complete that, whatever you, from the place you stopped. That is just to keep a habit, to keep your discipline in meditation. In every sport, in every activity, we have certain disciplines. So discipline in our meditation is whenever you are doing the meditation in daily basis, never reduce it 10 to 10, less than 10 tenths. And whenever you have moved to 15 tenths, do not reduce any further, any lesser than that. And whenever you have done the 7 sevens, started 7 sevens, just complete it before going into another task. 7 sevens you can do as much as you like. This would always also gives your mind the familiarity with the breath, and your mind would eventually starts to enjoy it. Yeah, we can conclude the session by doing 7 sevens. Yeah, and it's a quite short session, and with that we may conclude our meditation session. So you may do 7 sevens. You can start counting. I hope you had an idea about what 77 is, and hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining. So we conclude our meditation session on this full moon day, Uposatha day. Wish you all the best, and may you be able to meditate every day and make it a habit, and may you be able to grow in spirituality and gain high concentrations and experience the spiritual bliss in this very life. Theravada Saranai. Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.